Nintendo Switch games you should buy before they get expensive. Part 2, you guys really killed it on the last video. I had no expectation that that video would do so well, and I got a lot of comments being like, hey Bo, where's part 2? Make this a whole series. So today we are going to be doing just that. We are going to be looking at more games that I pulled out of my personal collection that I think you should buy because A, I could personally see them going up in price in the future, or because I just think they're good games. There are a few games here I have not unfortunately gotten around to playing, so just full disclosure there, I'll say which ones I haven't played as we get to them, just so you know, like, okay, is this a personal recommendation or is this based off of what this kid has heard over the years, saying like, oh, this random NIS America game is actually pretty good. I did get a lot of comments on the first video saying I was just trying to game the market and get people to panic buy so that the prices go up. Not what I'm trying to do. I said in that video, like, listen, watch this video for cool recommendations, and if it's a game you think looks interesting, maybe buy it now because I, for one reason or another, think it will go up in the future. I'm not trying to make people panic buy. Do not buy games just because I'm telling you to buy them. Buy them because it's a cool recommendation and you think it looks interesting and you want to play it, and maybe there's a little bit of fear there that maybe it'll go up in the future, which I mean, that's just the name of collecting. That's just how collecting goes. But without further ado, with that disclaimer out of the way, let's go over about, once again, 30 games here I have picked from my collection to show off, starting with one of my beloved anime games. Here we have Jump Force Deluxe Edition. Now, price charting has this at about $40 loose, 46 complete, and $70 new. The reason I'm recommending this, as well as this next game, is they actually got delisted. So this game is unavailable for purchase. I don't know why Bandai Namco decided, hey, we're going to delist Jump Force, this game that sold very well on PlayStation. If you recall, Jump Force came to Switch way later, like I think 2 full years after the PS4 and Xbox One release. And then like a few months later, they shut it down. Now, the cool thing about Jump Force on Nintendo Switch is that it has the first character pass on the cartridge, which includes characters like Majin Buu, as well as Law from One Piece, so really cool there. It does not have the second DLC pass. However, since it's been delisted on every platform, this is technically the most content-complete version of the game. And Jump Force, I mean, yeah, jokes about the art style aside, I can't stand the art style in this game. It's a pretty fun 3D arena fighter. If you like anime arena fighters, you kind of know what you're getting into with this game, and I actually had a pretty good time with it, so it's definitely one to keep an eye on because it has been delisted. I think I paid maybe $50 for it back, maybe a year ago or so. I think it might have been a little bit more spiked back then, so it kind of fluctuates, but Jump Force is definitely one where people like collecting anime stuff. Jump Force is a game that kind of mixed reception, I would say, but ultimately it does have a nice little fan base there. Just know going into it, you can't play online. You won't be able to buy that second season pass anymore, which sucks. I did make sure I bought that on the PS4 version before the servers went down because that's where I mostly played the game. But Jump Force on Nintendo Switch, kind of a weird late release, late port, and it is technically the most complete version of the game you can get today. Now, in the last video, I specifically forbade myself from mentioning limited run games here. I don't have too many in the stack, but there are a few I want to mention, and because I was talking about Jump Force, a game that got delisted, I thought I might as well go ahead and mention this one, Musiim Sama. I picked this one up at PAX a year or two ago. This is a bullet hell game, very cool. I believe it's from the PS2 era. I had never heard of it until this Switch re-release. This just got delisted, like I think days ago when I'm posting this video. Right now, you can get a complete copy for about $60, which is like double the price of what limited run charges for it initially, which I think is what most limited run games kind of end up settling at. They usually end up around that like $60 to $70 range on the resale market. So it's unfortunate if you didn't get it when it was new and you could get it for, $35, but it did get delisted, so I wanted to mention it. If you like bullet hell games, this is a pretty cool one. And speaking of limited run, I did also want to include Alien Isolation, just kind of in theme this week with Alien Romulus coming out very soon. It kind of goes without saying that a lot of licensed stuff usually ends up getting kind of pricey. Now, I don't believe there's ever been any issues with Alien licensing in terms of video games. Like, I don't think Alien Isolation has ever been delisted or anything, so I'm not necessarily saying, like, oh, be afraid of this game being delisted from the Switch, but it was a limited run release. It's Alien. If you like Alien, I actually have not played this one. It's a first-person horror game, but I've heard very good things about it. It kind of got mixed reviews when it came out, but since then, I've seen a lot of people saying, like, Alien Isolation is actually a really great game. Why hasn't Sega made a sequel? So this is one I definitely want to get to eventually, but keep an eye out for this one if you see it while you're, doing your local game hunting. And then the last limited run game I wanted to mention is something they distributed, but they did not count as like a numbered release. I believe it was available at Best Buy at one point. I'm not positive on that, but the Humongous Classic Collection, Freddy Fish, Spy Fox, Putt Putt, and Spy Pajama Sam. Yeah, Pajama Sam. If you grew up with these point-and-click adventure games on PC, you know, kind of very, very nostalgic for a lot of people. It is pretty cool that they did this collection on Switch. I believe on the eShop, they just did a new Freddy Fish collection. This is definitely like a nostalgia buy, right? If you buy this game, you're buying it because you grew up playing Putt-Putt or Pajama Sam. But for those watching this video, you're looking for recommendations, I feel like a lot of people probably don't know that they even, first of all, re-released these games on Switch, but also made this pretty cool collection. Right now it goes for about $60, but I know specifically Putt-Putt merch usually goes up in price. Like I've seen Putt-Putt stuff go for like crazy amounts of money. I think it was a Jenny Nicholson video I saw. She has like a crazy rare Putt-Putt plush or something like that. Maybe it was Freddy Fish. I don't know, but if you grow up with these games, this is a pretty cool collection to have. Next up, I want to shout out two collections from Capcom. Now, if you're a fan of Ace Attorney, you probably already have these. I just recently picked both of these up, so they're still sealed. I still need to get through the original trilogy. I played the first game and like half of the second game, so I'm very early in my Ace Attorney journey. But I do know this. I know Ace Attorney games usually kind of, not like crazy expensive, not like hundreds of dollars or anything, but they usually maintain around the MSRP. And I believe this first one here, Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, I'm pretty sure this one's like going out of print or is out of print. This one came out back in 2021. Of course, it has both 3DS games ported to the Switch. I believe they're both 3DS games. Maybe one was DS, one was 3DS, but this was the first time they were ever localized in the West. I was looking on price charting. Apparently, the PS4 copy of this actually goes for more. Right now on Switch, you can get it for about $25 complete, which is not bad at all. And I've heard these are really, really great games. But then also just this year, we had the Apollo Justice Ace Attorney trilogy. I would say worry about this one less. This one's newer. Right now, it's like $40 still, so it hasn't come down in price too much. Maybe there'll be more sales in the near future. But because it just came out, I would say if you're going to focus on one Ace Attorney collection, definitely get the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, because I feel like that one is just a little bit more niche, if that makes sense. And then with the upcoming release of Ace Attorney Investigations collection, I would say similar thing there, where it's not like one of the mainline games. This is 4, 5, and 6 for those that are new to the Ace Attorney series. Whereas Great Ace Attorney Chronicles and Investigations, those are like spin-offs or like separate things. They're not part of the numbered entries. So I feel like those will sell less, thus there will be less copies out in the wild, thus they will get more pricey in the future. Here's one that I'm not too sure will go up or down really in the near future, but Boton Kaidos 1 and 2, this is one of those Play Asia, Asian English releases. If you don't know Boton Kaidos, this is a kind of card-based JRPG from the developers of Xenoblade Chronicles. Yes, Monolith Soft made these games back on the GameCube. They did just re-release these on Steam, which I think is a big component and a big factor and why I think this probably won't get too expensive. But if you're a fan of Monolith Soft and you want to see kind of their Nintendo origins with Boton Kaidos Origins, as well as with Boton Kaidos Eternal Wings and the Lost Ocean, yeah, I definitely think that you should check these out. And it's kind of just a cool thing that it got a physical release at all from Bandai Namco. I wish it had gotten like a more widespread release. Like I wish you could go into Best Buy and get this game, but unfortunately you do have to import it, but still happy that it did get a physical copy. In the last video, I showed an NT Creates collection that I didn't know existed until I saw it at PAX West through the Blaster Master Zero trilogy, all in one cartridge. Last year at PAX, I found another NT Creates kind of collection that I did not know existed, and I missed out on the limited run release of the first game for this series, and it actually has gotten pretty dang pricey, and I don't really want to spend that money. So when I saw this at PAX West last year, I was pretty happy, and that is the Bloodstained Curse of the Moon Chronicles. This is very classic Castlevania-styled platformers from NT Creates, not to be confused with Ritual of the Night. That was like the main Bloodstained game, so to speak. These were like more 8-bit style Castlevania, or sorry, Bloodstained games, and they're in this cool collection. Now it's Sero rated, it's Japanese, but it does have English on it. It's fully English, and as you can see, the spine even will look nice with the rest of the games in your collection. So this is one that isn't too pricey right now. I think it's like $30, $35, and it's nice that it has English. Normally Japanese releases have a bunch of Japanese on the spine, so it kind of breaks up your collection. But this one is nice and nice and in the language I can read. Another visual novel here. I've only played the first game in the series, but I do want to get back to it eventually and play through both sequels. Danganronpa Decadence, or Decadence. This was released a couple years ago, and at one point it was actually above MSRP. I remember seeing copies of this game going for like $65, $70 on eBay, but at some point Spike Chunsoft must have reprinted it, because right now you can get a copy for about $40, I believe, on eBay, which is not too bad. This is all 3 of the mainline Danganronpa games, as well as it's like Danganronpa S or something. It's like a little party game or something, I believe. I haven't played it yet, but this is a cool series of visual novels. Of course, in the most recent Nintendo Direct, they just announced that 100-line Last Defense Academy or something, which looked really cool. And I need to get through these. I need to get through the rest of these, because the first game, it's been a long time since I played it, and I enjoyed it. But sometimes visual novels kind of make me sleepy. But yeah, this is a cool collection. Definitely get it if you are interested in Danganronpa. All right, here's a completely random one that I have never seen out in the wild. I've never seen this at my like local game store or anything, but it's a port of a Wii game that I bet most of you watching this video had no idea even came to the Nintendo Switch, and that is the Blob. Remember the Blob on the Wii? Yeah, both these games came to Switch. I only have the first one here. THQ Nordic decided to re-release this. It's going for like 20 bucks on eBay. However, the thing is, there's not that many copies listed. There's some European copies, but for the ESRB release of Day Blob on Switch, there's really not that much on eBay, which is just interesting. Day Blob 2 is, I think, slightly more expensive, maybe. I still need to pick up that one. But yeah, those are just completely random Wii ports that came out that I didn't hear anybody talk about. So if you grew up with the Blob and want to replay it on Switch, you can do that. I don't really know why they ported these games to Switch, but it's just kind of cool. It's kind of goofy to see the Blob not on the Wii. I mean, this is such a Wii game in my mind, if that makes sense. Here's a pretty cool one I picked up off of Amazon clearance, I think earlier this year or late last year, a pinball game called Demon's Tilt. I had never heard of this, but I saw the cover, I was like, oh, occult pinball action. That sounds really cool. Now, this is cool. If you like pinball games, you're probably going to like this. However, just be warned, I believe it only has one board, which is like, you're releasing a physical pinball game and only has one board. That's kind of weird in my opinion, but it's pretty cool. If you like pinball games, if you're willing to spend the money, I think this is going for like 40 bucks now, which is a little pricey for this. Although now that I'm looking at it, this must have been a limited run distribution title because it actually says limited run on the back, but I bought it on Amazon, I think for 10 or 15 bucks back when they were clearancing it out. Pretty cool game. If you're a big fan of pinball games, I would say at least, look at this footage and kind of weigh your mind on that. I really love the like whole cult, like design of the board and everything. It looks very nice. All right, now earlier we were talking about games that got delisted, but what about a game that got delisted and came back from the dead? Earlier this year, Square Enix for some reason delisted Octopath Traveler on Nintendo Switch, and then a few weeks later it came back. I would say if you're interested in the first entry in the HD 2NI lineage from Square Enix, maybe go ahead and buy a copy of Octopath Traveler on Switch, because the interesting thing with Octopath is, unless Square Enix ever ends up working with limited run or something, Octopath Traveler only has a physical release on Switch. It has come to Xbox and PlayStation 4 digitally now, but you can only get a physical copy on Nintendo Switch, and it's a great game. I haven't finished it, but I remember playing that demo and just being like, wow, this is a really good JRPG, and it's like one of those things like I really want to get to soon, but it's just so freaking long, man. So if you like the HD 2D style and you're interested in Octopath Traveler, I have seen some people say like, oh, just skip Octopath 1, Octopath 2 is way better. I don't know, man. I'm the type of person that, like, even if I know the games aren't connected, I want to kind of see where the series started and start there. And since both Octopath Traveler 1 and 2 are on Switch, whenever I do eventually do a full playthrough of Octopath 1, that'll definitely be on Switch. But yeah, if you're interested in HD 2D stuff, if you like turn-based classical JRPGs, definitely give Octopath Traveler some consideration. Wanted to shout that one out, especially since it had that whole like weird delisting situation earlier this year. This next one I actually did a YouTube short on. I had never heard of this specific version of this game until I just saw it one day while scrolling eBay, doing my usual search for good deals. But I guess at some point, THQ Nordic and Volition must have released this special edition of Saints Row the Third, the full package. And as you can see, it has like this cool purple slipcover, and it has the Volition logo there instead of the Nintendo Switch logo, which is interesting. If you like Saints Row, if you know what Saints Row is, it's kind of like a knockoff GTA. I don't want to, demean Saints Row any here, but that is kind of the most accurate descriptor of Saints Row. So it's cool that they brought them to Switch, but this release is just kind of weird. This game isn't very expensive, but this specific special edition or weird variant actually goes for like 50, 60 bucks. It doesn't really pop up that much. It's hard to search for because I believe it was exclusive to Volition's online store. Now, I did learn while doing research for this video and getting all the price charting images ready. Mine is not complete. So I'm looking at this image from price charting here. It looks like it came with like some art cards maybe, and as well as like maybe a poster and some stickers. Mine only has these little nubs in here that are going to fall out as soon as I open this. It has like little nubs for your Joy-Con. But yeah, very weird release of Saints Row the Third. If you are a big fan of this series, definitely something to keep an eye out for. Don't pay up for it. I think there might be one copy listed I saw for like $100. Don't pay up for it. But I bet if you like save a search for Saints Row the Third, you can probably snipe one. Because they just don't really pop up that often. Next up, let's talk about some more first-party Nintendo games. I got a lot of comments being like, yeah, Another Code is definitely one to keep an eye out for, so I'm glad people agreed with me that Another Code would be definitely a game to keep an eye out for cheap, or try to get cheap before it inevitably goes out of print, because that was a very low print run game, I assume, because we know it didn't sell very well. But I wanted to do some more first-party Nintendo stuff, games that I think are interesting, or games that I think might go up, because they didn't sell very well. And a great example of that is Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp. Now, I'm a little reluctant to recommend this one, just because, A, I gotta be honest, I did not like my time playing this game. This is my first time playing Advance Wars, and I didn't like it. I respect it, though. I respect that a lot of people do like it, and I'm glad that Nintendo gave the series another chance. However, it didn't sell very well. But, like I said, I'm a little reluctant to recommend buying this because it'll go up in price or something, because traditionally, Advance Wars games haven't really gone up in price. You can get both the games on the DS for pretty cheap. You can get cartridge-only copies of the games on GBA for, I'm not gonna say cheap, but like, within like a reasonable price range. So I don't know if Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp is really going to go up in price because it's so limited, because it didn't sell 1 million copies, as we know. It could stay around the $40 range. It could go up in the future, but for me, I really didn't like Advance Wars that much. I prefer my Fire Emblem with my nice story and my nice characters and my nice music. Advance Wars is cool. I respect it. But yeah, I don't know. If you're interested in more tactics games from Nintendo, maybe give this one a shot and you know, make your own opinion for yourself. Judge it for yourself. Another game that I presume has less than 1 million copies out in the wild, Cadence of Hyrule: Crypt of the Necrodancer, featuring The Legend of Zelda. This was a weird time for Nintendo where they actually let the developers of Crypt of the Necrodancer, a great dungeon crawler, kind of procedurally generated game, rhythm game. They let those developers, Brace Yourself Games, take the Zelda IP and basically make a sequel to Crypt of the Necrodancer with Link and Zelda in it, which is just absolutely crazy. It came out digitally in 2019, but then a year later they released some DLC. I haven't tried the DLC yet, and then they actually gave it this physical release. So right now it looks like it's about $35-40, but it's a Zelda game. People collect Zelda stuff. I could see this going up one day just because it is Zelda. People, I don't think, love it overall. I thought it was pretty good. I love the pixel art. The music's really good. The remixes they do. But I think overall reception to it was kind of lukewarm. So maybe it won't go up in price because of that. Maybe people will just be like, it's Crypt of the Necrodancer. It's not really a Zelda game. But if you want to complete your Zelda collection and you're interested in Crypt of the Necrodancer, definitely give this one a look. Next up, I have a stack of a bunch of variants or complete editions that Nintendo has released for the Nintendo Switch. Here, we'll kind of go through these one by one. So Nintendo has done a lot of paid DLC in the Switch generation, more than they ever have in the past. And because of that, they've been re-releasing a lot of these games with the DLC on cartridge. Now, some of these kind of varies by case, because some of them don't have all the DLC, they only have some of them, so we'll talk about that as we go. But starting off here, this one is complete, and I think for all of these, Nintendo usually puts English on the cartridge of their Japanese releases, so I do believe all of these have English. Correct me in the comments down below if I'm wrong on that. But starting off, we have the Breath of the Wild with the expansion pass. So all of the content from the Champion's Ballad and from the Trial of the Sword is on the cartridge, which is really cool. So if there ever is a day in the future, 20 years from now, 10 years from now, God forbid, like 5 years from now, Nintendo, please. If there is that day in the future where the Switch eShop closes, I don't think that will happen because of the Switch 2, but whatever. If that ever happens, there is a content-complete version of Breath of the Wild that has all of that content on there, which is really cool. It even says it on the cartridge there, plus expansion pass. So if you're a diehard Zelda collector, if you want to have the most complete version of one of the best Zelda games in your collection, this is really cool. I wish they had done like an English release. I wish they had just put this out in America so it isn't Japanese, but still a very cool release nonetheless. But they also did a similar thing with Splatoon 2 plus the Octo expansion. I'm not sure what the most recent update is on this one because Splatoon, of course, got plenty of updates after Octo expansion, right? I assume, right? I'm sure there were more content updates. I know it has Octo expansion on it though, so I'm not sure what the last content update was. I'm not sure if it technically has all the maps that have come out or all the weapons and costumes and all that for Splatoon 2, but it does have Octo expansion, which is single player content, which is all that really matters in my opinion, and that's awesome. And then the last one here, that's not Pokemon, of course, is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe plus the Booster Course Pass. Now here's the thing with this. Nintendo really wanted to release this game for the holidays, I guess, and it actually released without all of the DLC. So this has waves 1 through 5 on the cartridge. I have heard rumblings that apparently you might get lucky and a later printing did have waves 1 through 6 of the Booster Course Pass on the cartridge. Apparently, they did release it at some point with all the DLC on the cartridge. Now, if Mario Kart 8 Deluxe gets any updates down the road, it obviously wouldn't be on there, but just know going into it, there's a chance if you buy that, you might get a copy that only has waves 1 through 5, and then you have to download the 6th wave. It's very weird. I wish they hadn't, rushed it out. And then also I did buy the Japanese version here because this came out first. But same thing, I believe this only has waves 1 through 5 on it. And then finally, some Pokemon stuff. Pokemon games, if you're new to collecting, usually go up in price. These ones are already pretty expensive. I think they must have just been a low print run. Pokemon Sword plus the expansion pass. This one is content complete, or at least it has all of that DLC. Like I said, maybe there was an update or something, but it does have the actual DLC content on there, the Isle of Armor and the Crown Tundra, as well as Pokemon Shield plus the expansion pass. This one is definitely a little bit cheaper. But then they did similar things for Scarlet and Violet. But here's the thing, once again, they must have wanted to rush it out for the holiday season because this only has the first part of the Scarlet and Violet DLC on it. So here's Scarlet plus the Hidden Treasure of Area 0, and then I believe Indigo Disc is a download, and then same thing for Pokemon Violet here. These two are pretty cheap right now. I believe you can get them for like, honestly, $60, so like not even much above MSRP for Scarlet and Violet, which is funny. Maybe buy those now though, because I can't imagine they're gonna keep stocking it with the DLC when they retail for $95. I think the likelier scenario is if Scarlet and Violet is going to continue living on store shelves through this holiday season, they'll probably just restock the base game because it's technically cheaper, even though I think I saw on Best Buy the other day, yeah, the Scarlet and Violet with the DLC was actually like, it might have been clearance out, honestly. They might be trying to get rid of it right now because I think it was $62 or something, really cheap. So if that's something that interests you, all of those variants of those Nintendo games, very cool in my opinion. I like having the most complete version of a cartridge in my collection, and I just wish they actually did more of a wide release for Mario Kart, Zelda, and Splatoon 2. Also worth noting, I believe they just did one for Splatoon 3 with side order on the cartridge. Did not get an American release, however, it did get a Japanese release, and I believe an Australian release. All right, this last section is a mishmash of quite a few games that I admittedly have not played, but I've heard very good things about, and I do want to get to, hopefully in the near future. As you all know, or maybe know if you've been watching my channel for a while, I'm going for a complete NIS America set. I got a lot of comments in the last video being like, you should do more NIS America stuff, cover more NIS America games. So I didn't go too hard in this video. I wanted to just show a couple here. Maybe in the next one, I'll go more in depth on some NIS America releases. But starting off, I wanted to show these two. I've actually got a comment about one of them. Labyrinth of Refrain, Coven of Dusk. This one was very hard to find for a while, but VGP, Video Games Plus, a Canadian online retailer, they actually restocked it. So I got it for like, I think 30 or maybe $40 when they restocked it. So there's this one, as well as the more recent, I think this one is actually more expensive right now because of that VGP reprint, Labyrinth of Galeria, The Moon Society. This one came out back in 2023. And then just one more NIS America game for this video, because like I said, I want to save more for the next one. This is one I actually did play earlier this year, around the time that Unicorn Overlord came out, which, by the way, you should also buy that and play that because that is a fantastic, fantastic game. But I was very interested in Vanillaware's kind of history because I hadn't really played many of their games, and I didn't even realize that this was Vanillaware. I already owned this game, and I was like, oh, that's a Vanillaware game. In fact, this is one of their first games. Grim Grimoire once more. This is a PS2 game, kind of remastered for the Switch. This is an RTS, very unique game. I didn't finish it. I played probably like 5 or 6 hours of it. I was enjoying it. I like the music. I like the characters. The art is really good, or in my opinion, it's really good. I love the art and like how they make them kind of animated. But this is Vanillaware's Origins, so if you're interested in that, definitely worth checking out. But then I have another Vanillaware game here. This one I have not played. I really, really need to play this one. But that is 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. This is the game they released in between, I want to say, would it be Dragon's Crown and Unicorn Overlord? This game was announced like a long, long time ago, and it took years to come out. I remember watching the announcement trailer, I think at a Sony Tokyo Game Show press conference, but this is a sci-fi mystery epic, it's described on the back. I've heard very good things about it. It's very high on my priority list after playing Unicorn Overlord, because Unicorn Overlord honestly might be my game of the year right now. Like, I need to sit down and look at my games I've played so far this year, but Unicorn Overlord is definitely up there. I really, really like that game. So, yeah, if you want to check out some more Vanillaware stuff, Grim Grimoire once more is on Switch, as well as 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. Another import here, but if you enjoy dungeon crawlers, Atrian Odyssey did get a collection on Switch. Unfortunately, it did not get a proper physical release, and this one is pretty pricey. I think it's like 80 or 90 bucks already, which sucks. I think on the eShop, these games are expensive. The good thing about this, though, is it does include English. So if you want to buy this this copy of the game, it does have English on the cartridge, which is nice. I just wish Atlas had done a proper release. Come on, Atlas, what are you doing? Give us a proper Atrian Odyssey releases. Is America not good enough now for a freaking proper Atrian Odyssey release? And then finally, to close off this video, I wanted to show off 3 Digimon games. Now, I will admit, although I do want to get to these eventually, I have not played any of these 3. I bought them because I know I will like them and I will get to them eventually. And I bought them while they're still pretty cheap, or, well, 2 of them anyway. So right now you can get Digimon Survive, which is like a Digimon tactics game. You can get this one for pretty cheap. That came out, I think, back in 2022, as well as Digimon Story Sliber Sleuth Complete Edition. I figured I might as well go ahead and show these off since I'm talking about Digimon here, because there is a very, very expensive Digimon game on Switch. I'm not saying buy this one. You shouldn't buy this one. If you're going to buy it, get it digitally and play it that way. It might be cheaper on PS4. I'm not entirely sure. But back in 2023, I think, they had a Digimon game, I believe ported. It might have been ported from the PS4 or something, like a late port, but they ported it to Switch, and I believe it was exclusive to Bandai Namco's store for some reason, which is just like, why? Why would you do that? But this is Digimon World Next Order, and this one is very expensive. I figured I would show it, so if you see it in the wild for cheap, you know, like, okay, that's a rare game. I should buy that. And if you're interested in buying it, of course, that's always a disclaimer. I don't want people to think I'm trying to, you know, drive up prices or whatever. But this game is over $100, and it's very hard to find an ESRB copy. You can get European copies for cheaper, Japanese copies for cheaper, but yeah, I believe my copy came with a little Agumon card, I guess. Or maybe the eBay seller I bought it from included that. I think I got this for like 60 bucks. I saw it steadily going up in price. I noticed there weren't many copies listed. And although I have not played a Digimon game ever, I think I'll get into this eventually, and I'll probably like it. So I wanted to pick it up before it got even crazier, which it has at this point. Because according to price charting, yeah, it's like 120 bucks, which is ridiculous. But that is going to do it for today's video. Some recommendations for your Switch collection. Once again, I'm always going to get the comments. I know I shouldn't look at the comments, but I'm not trying to get you to buy games. I'm not trying to drive FOMO. I'm just trying to give you some cool recommendations for games that you should play because they're cool games, or at least I've heard they're cool games in some of these cases. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If I do a third video, let me know what I should include in that, because I'm kind of running out of games from my own collection that I think would make sense to put in a video like this. Obviously, I could do like a separate, like just hidden gems video, I guess, which could be cool. But in terms of games that I think will actually get expensive, I'm kind of running out from my collection. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. What games do you think would fit this type of video? And do you want to see more? Of course, subscribe here for more collecting content. Subscribe to my main channel at Botox Games, and follow me on Twitter at Botox Games. Until next time, folks, peace.